Okay. There's one thing that I'd like to show to you is that uh, because right now, if you look at this relationship, so when I click this relationship, right? Let's say click this relationship. Oops. Click this relation. Oops. Let me see. Um, okay. So when you click, so okay. So when I click this relationship, I check mark this field, right? Enforce referential integrity, right? So that means let's just close this relationship. Do you want to save the change? Yes, and just I didn't really do anything, but let's say yes. Now, you know that when I click professor, it has 100 through the 400, P100 through P400. And if I go to the student, if I just change this value to, let's say, P700, right? Um, as you can see, this P700 is not here. That means what? It's clearly violate the referential integrity. So if I try to save the student table with this value 700, if I try to save it, it shows that you cannot add or change a record because related record is required in the table professor. Right? That means this P700 is required in the professor table. So, which is really good, right? This Microsoft Access basically saying that, hey, you cannot put the P700, right? Because this is clearly what? A violation of referential integrity. So what you can do, if you want to put the P700, so go to professor table, right? And then you have to add P700. Let's say his professor name is Vinny, or or Cami, right? Okay, Cami. His name is Cami, P700, right? So I'm gonna save. Once you make the change, you have to always save it. So don't forget to save each time you make the changes. That means, or you add a new field, new attribute, whatever. You have to save it, right? Save it, and then I'm going to save it. This P700, just in case. Good. Now it's no complaints, right? So go back to the. I'm going to close this, and go to database tools and the relationship. So yeah, it's one too many, right? But next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that requirement, referential integrity requirement. So click this relations. So as you can see, the color changes, right? So click this relation, then right click, and then select edit relationship, right? This time I uncheck or unmark this requirement, referential integrity requirement. Okay, right? And then I'm going to save it. You must save, and then I'm going to close it. Okay, so at this point, there's no referential integrity requirement. So what I'm going to do is go to student, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put professor 1000. And as you can see, if I go to professor table, there's no P1000, right? So I'm going to save it and student, and I don't have any complaints because there's no longer, right? This referential integrity requirement does no longer need to be satisfied. And that's why I don't really receive any error message from the Access database. Okay, So I'm going to stop recording my lecture.